it's 10 a.m. right here in Lagos, Nigeria. Good morning, good evening. Wherever in the world you're watching from, it's Business Morning coming to you live from Channels HQ right here in Lagos. Let's get the top stories that set your agenda now. A total sum of 906.95 billion naira has been shared to the three tiers of government by the Federation Account Allocation Committee as monthly revenue from the Joint Federation Account for October. Highlights of the latest disbursement shows that the federal government received 323.35 billion naira, while state governments got 307.7 billion, while the local government councils received 225.2 billion naira. At the same time, a total sum of 50.67 billion naira was shared to the relevant states as 13% of mineral derivation revenue. Meanwhile, the gross statutory revenue received for last month was lower than the 1.014 billion naira received in September, as the figure dropped by 354 million naira to 660 billion naira. And one of Nigeria's most resilient financial institutions, Wema Bank, has been assigned a $50 million credit facility by the ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development. In a statement released, the bank's managing director, CEO Maruf Oseni, says the revolutionary deal, which was sealed in Lomé, capital of Togo, aligns with the IBID strategy of impacting SMEs across the sub-region through partnerships with banks and reputable financial institutions that have a significant reach within West Africa. Mr. Oseni explained that following the $50 million credit facility deal, Wema Bank is set to commit more funds to promoting agriculture and businesses owned and run by female entrepreneurs. Describing the partnership as long expected, the president and chairman of the board of directors at ECOWAS, George Dunker, emphasized the importance of women empowerment and the need to continue providing actors in the agricultural sector with resources to enhance produce, add value to the ecosystem, and increase trade returns. While acknowledging Wema Bank's significant role in driving the Nigerian economy, Mr. Dunker also highlighted the impact of the credit facility on driving the sustainable development goals. With the facility, Wema Bank says it will extend its already functional loan disbursement capacity to positively impact more Nigerians and business owners across the country. Let's get a check on the oil markets now. Oil prices fell by more than 1% today, extending losses from the previous session after OPEC Plus postponed a ministerial meeting, leading to speculation that producers might cut output less than earlier anticipated. Brent futures was down about $1.02 at $80.94 a barrel after falling as much as 4% on Wednesday. US WTI intermediate crude that dipped 87 cents to $76.23 a barrel after declining as much as 5% in the previous session. We'll drill down on what to expect with oil prices later on the show. And Zenith Bank has held the third edition of the Zenith Tech's Fair tagged Future 4 3.0 at the Echo Convention Center, Co-Hotels and Suites in Victoria Island, Lagos. The two-day fair showcases leading technology innovations that cut across different aspects of life, such as artificial intelligence, contactless payments, cybersecurity, cloud computing, fintech, data analytics, financial intelligence, and communication technologies. Take a listen.
We have some It's a big lineup, led by the chief host and founder of Zenith Bank PLC, Jim Ovia, and a room filled with young, vibrant, and tech enthusiasts ready to take it all in. The Group Managing Director of Zenith Bank PLC, Mr. Ebenezer Inyagu, opens the floor with the remarks touching on the evolution of banking sector and how Zenith Bank has always set the pace.
You are talking about robotics. You are talking about biotechnology. You are talking about mobile technology. So there need to be a sense of harmony wherever we are, that we'll be able to create a decent and very, very respectable and robust ecosystem for digital technology and digital interface to thrive in our country. That is why Zenith Bank is taking the initiative to ensure that this annual event continues.
The goodwill message by the Minister of Communication, Innovation and Digital Economy, Bosun Tijani, borders on the efforts of the government in building a synergy and collaboration with the private sector.
Means the machines can think for us way much more than we can think. And that's what artificial intelligence is all about. If you want to explain it to a child, it's a bit scary, but it's simply saying you're teaching a machine to think like human. Don't be scared. There are ways in which we can manage it. But that's simply what AI is all about. You teach a machine to be able to think like human. And one key way of driving technical efficiency is the prioritization of innovation and technology. So it is not by accident that you have a Zenith Bank, which is a leading bank in the country, that takes technology extremely seriously. You know, the chairman is, in the startup world where I come from, we consider the chairman a member of our ecosystem because he's invested significantly in the startup ecosystem.
The keynote presentation, Artificial Intelligence, Application and Bias, is delivered by Chris Liu, a business strategist and managing director of Huawei Technologies Nigeria.
Personally, I believe with the right leadership, with a clear policy, we are able to have all the AI players coming from different pillars, and then together we can create much more value for different industries and verticals.
On the sideline, exhibitors line up different products and offerings for thousands of participants at the event. The fair also featured presentation on cybersecurity, cloud computing, fintech, data analytics, and the day two is expected to feature pitch sessions, innovative startups, panel discussions, masterclasses, and exhibitions.
He updates everything he does there, and it's remarkable.
Welcome back. Well, it's all about OPEC Plus now, the global oil market. We see they've postponed the ministerial meeting scheduled for the 30th of November, leading to speculation that producers might cut output less than earlier anticipated. Joining us now for that conversation is Dr. Desola Simone, Senior Analyst, Financial Derivatives Company. Great to have you on the show. Good morning.
Good morning, Ladi. Thank you for having me on the show.
Fantastic. So right now we're seeing a lot of volatility in the oil market at this time. What scenarios can we expect going forward with the postponement of this meeting? It seems it's meeting postponement season. We had that postponement there for the MPC meeting we're supposed to have this week.
Indeed, Ladi, indeed. So regarding OPEC, one factor that markets do not like is uncertainty, right? And so with the postponement of the meeting from November 26th to 30th, it brought some uncertainty into the market, and that's why we saw oil prices decline quite sharply. Brent was down 1%, WTI was also down. And the markets were looking forward to the meeting to get some form of direction about, about OPEC's plan in terms of production cuts going forward. Already we know that the production cuts for this year are going to last until the end of the year. We know that for sure. But going forward, the markets were looking for direction or some form of signal from OPEC on, whether they're going to extend the cuts, whether they're going to cut deeper, etc. Now, there's some analysis coming out of the market that shows that the market will be oversupplied next year and OPEC will need to cut deeper. So part of the reason for the postponement, according to sources close to the case, was because there was no consensus about, who's going to take the cut. So OPEC Plus also agrees that there might be a need to cut deeper, right? But how are they going to share the cuts? Those are some of the issues that led to the postponement. Also, some countries were not keeping up with their production quotas. Some countries were overproducing, therefore oversupplying the market and reducing the impact of the production cuts. So those are some of the issues that were discussed.
Do you think the members at this time will be able to agree to some kind of cut, going forward, or do you see them towing the path of every man for himself?
So at the end of the day, Ladi, so Saudi Arabia is the de facto leader of OPEC, right? And even though these production cuts are not legally binding, Saudi Arabia has a way to kind of ensure compliance, because Saudi Arabia can choose to flood the markets, right, with oil, and the cost of production for Saudi Arabia is one of the lowest across OPEC. So Saudi Arabia can afford to to be a loss leader in the sense that, they can flood the market and make it bad for everyone, but they are still able to break even because their cost of production is quite lower. So they are considering that, but hopefully other countries can agree to some form of production cut. Last time, as Russia agreed to, reduce its exports by around 300,000 barrels a day, Saudi Arabia also led the cuts by, taking in an additional 1 million barrels a day. There are talks that they are expected to deepen the cuts by around 1 million barrels. But if you look at a country like Nigeria, for example, even though our production target or quota was around, I think, 1.8 barrels a day, or 1.6, I don't remember the exact number, Nigeria is still not even producing close to that. Nigeria's production, I think, is about 1.3, 1.4. So in agreeing the new cuts, I think there will still be some wiggle room for countries who are having some problems with their production, like Nigeria.
And talking about Nigeria this time, we're definitely aiming for, about 2 million barrels, going forward. How does this impact our output forecast? Because we're trying to get it up at this time. We're trying to get more revenue. How does this impact that dream at this point?
Indeed, Ladi, if Nigeria can produce 2 million barrels a day, that would be excellent. The last time they've produced that, I think, it's been many, many years ago, because we keep having these attacks on oil infrastructure. We keep having oil theft and etc. So at the end of the day, right, there's a trade-off, right? So if Nigeria violates their production quota, for example, then the prices are going to drop down. So it's going to be a trade-off between, higher prices and lower production, or higher production and lower prices. And I think Nigeria's output, Nigeria's revenues, I think they are more elastic, sensitive to higher production. So Nigeria will probably have to strike a deal with OPEC about, a production level that is high enough, but that is still kind of reduces supply in the market, so that we can enjoy both a reasonably high price and a reasonably high output.
All right, with what you've seen so far in the market, do you think OPEC Plus are going to come to some kind of agreement soon?
Indeed, because Nigeria's production has been lagging quite significantly, right? Since, I think, 2 years ago, when OPEC came up with these production cuts, Nigeria has not been able to produce enough, up to even 1.6 million, 1.7 million barrels a day. If you look at the reports, monthly reports from OPEC, which we track on a regular basis, you see Nigeria's production going from 1.1 million barrel, 1.1 million barrel, 1.2 million barrels. Sometimes it was even less than 1 million barrels a day. So I think OPEC is going to give some form of wiggle room for countries like Nigeria, who have not been able to increase their production so far, in deciding these new production cuts going forward.
All right, what are you seeing for prices by the end of this year?
I think prices are still going to remain elevated. Prices are going to be determined by, the outcome of these OPEC meetings, but also geopolitical conflict. These days, geopolitical conflicts are having big effects on commodity prices. So geopolitical conflict is going to be a big factor affecting oil prices. Thankfully, now we have some ceasefire between Israel and Hamas war and the Ukrainian war as well. But apart from geopolitical conflict, OPEC, how deep they are going to cut is going to drive prices going forward. Also, we're looking at demand. 2 weeks ago, OPEC revised upwards their oil demand outlook for this year, and that's also expected to affect oil prices going forward. But we are still not seeing strong demand coming out of Asia. China and Japan, their economies are not growing as quick as we'd like, and as a result, the prospect of higher oil demand coming out of that region is not materializing yet.
All right, let's take a look at LNG now, liquefied natural gas. It's down about 0.07%, but I've seen that this LNG has not recovered, ever since, hitting the high, during the peak of the Russia-Ukraine war, Russia turning off the taps of gas to Europe. It's still below $3 at this point. Why hasn't it recovered like we've seen with oil?
2 reasons. Number one is the weather, right? So we've seen last year we had a warmer than expected winter. So as a result, the demand for heating, the demand for natural gas for heating was relatively low compared to like the 10-year average. And because of that, the storage of natural gas was also high. Currently now, at the moment, the storage of natural gas in Europe is around 99.6% full, which is unusual for this time of the year. Also, we are having a warmer than expected autumn. At this time of the year, the temperature is warmer than it typically is. Many people have not even turned on their heating yet. So there's across Europe, there's lower demand for heating. We have ample storage. We're also still receiving a lot of imports from North America, particularly the United States and Canada. So those factors are why we've still not seen natural gas prices recover. I think going forward, there are talks that a colder than expected winter may affect natural gas prices, but there's some analysis that shows that even if we have a colder than expected winter, at the end of the winter period, the natural gas storage will still be around 30% full, which is still higher than the 10-year average. So I think at the moment, Europe is in a safe space, but there are still some risks in terms of the natural gas supply.
All right, in the grains market, back in the news at this time, Russia and the Ukraine war still impacting that market, but we're seeing wheat inching higher at this time. Are we seeing some kind of rally coming there?
No, indeed. What happened? What is happening is that we are still seeing some Russian attacks on Ukrainian grain infrastructure, and we know both Russia and Ukraine are huge producers of grains, both wheat, corn, etc. So already that prices in that region is driving commodity prices, and it has a wide range of implications. But quite recently, we saw Russia attack grain infrastructure in Ukraine, and that kind of created some concerns around the supply of grain to the market. In addition to that, it also created concerns about international trade and the global supply chain of the grain. So those factors and the uncertainty surrounding those factors are why we are seeing grain prices trend upwards. Also remember that the Black Sea deal was also not renewed. So the disruption in supply chain coming out of the region, the disruption in international trade, as well as the attacks on grain infrastructure in Ukraine, those key factors are still going to keep driving wheat prices going forward.
All right, let's get a check on the FX market now. We're seeing pressure in the parallel market, 1,158 yesterday. What's driving sentiment there? Is there no supply again at this time?
So the market wants some direction, right? At the moment, for example, we are supposed to have the monetary policy meeting this week. That did not happen, and that's just creating some form of uncertainty. Even though we've gotten some comments from the central bank saying they're trying to clear backlogs. We're expecting some inflows from the Middle East. We're expecting some both FPI and foreign direct investment. Even though the central bank has allowed the interest rates or the stock rate of treasury bills or OMO to trend upwards quite significantly. For a 365-day bill, for example, you can get it for 17 to 18%, which is positive. Even though all of that is happening, I think there's still some form of uncertainty in terms of the policy direction. We've still not had any solid statement from the central bank governor, and that is kind of still making the markets a bit anxious. Investors are still adopting a wait and see approach to see what's the direction going to be. But I think that the market would I think towards the end of the year, I think we're going to see the exchange rate appreciate. We're going to see the exchange rate appreciate. I don't want to give a number. I think we're expecting some inflows towards the Christmas. I think there's going to be a lot of remittances into the country. Last year, remittances were put in at around $20 billion. So a lot of relatives abroad are going to send money back home over the Christmas holidays. Some of them are also going to visit. They're also going to visit the country back, bringing in some hard currency, and also they're going to take advantage of the weaker currency to invest in Nigeria, whether to invest in agriculture, invest in real estate, invest in the stock market, or even in the fixed income market. So all of those factors, I think, would allow the currency to appreciate towards the end of the year.
All right, I guess we'll be expecting the I just got back people Soon. Thank you so much for your perspective. This last morning, senior analyst, Financial Derivatives Company. Thank you.
Yeah.
And now the federal government will not purchase made-in-Nigeria vehicles if it doesn't meet the required standard. So says the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Doris Uzoka Anite, at an engagement function with players in the automotive industry. The meeting was geared towards boosting the chances of the success of the new Nigeria Automotive Industry Development Policy 2023. Also brings onto the fore issues of implementation and strategy. Our correspondent Chris Illems reports.
By show of hands, how many of us were a part of...
Following the federal government adoption of a new National Automotive Industry Development Policy, stakeholders in the sector converge on Lagos, courtesy the National Automotive Design and Development Council.
I'm sure some of us can remember that there were times when we had the tariffs reversed back and forth, and that had an impact on the sector.
This engagement is to help the regulators understand some bottlenecks to be addressed to enable the 10-year policy succeed.
To ensure the effective implementation of NIDP 2023, we have established a robust governance framework anchored on interagency coordination.
The country's installed capacity for manufacture is put at 500,000 vehicles per annum, yet it barely does 5%.
We can do far more than what we are doing today. Then what do we need to do to get to where we're supposed to get to? So this policy is part of the roadmap that is pointing, the compass that is pointing us to the direction where we need to go.
The Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, who could only attend virtually, speaks on the need for quality and standards in the industry.
Government is a consumer. They are also your customers. And like any other customer, they are also not immune to bad services. That we're government doesn't mean that we should be buying bad products because they're made in Nigeria.
Industry players look forward to a robust discussion that should distinguish this new policy from previous ones.
So we are hoping, that this plan will have government backing very quickly, and it will be enacted into law.
It takes practically almost 6 months for you to renew a license that is 1 year, duration. So. These factors all combine to limit the capacity of the assemblers.
While the new Automotive Industry Development Policy offers some incentives, such as tax holidays, consumers, on the other hand, would look forward to affordable and high-quality vehicles, as well as workable credit incentives. Chris Illems, Channels Television News.
Well, 10 years after the partial privatization of the Nigerian electricity supply industry, the current generation, transmission and distribution level is just over 4,000 megawatts. Well, 10 years after 10 years of privatization, about 90 million Nigerians were still without power supply, at this time. Well, joining us to understand why is Chantel Abdul, Group Managing Director of Mojek Holdings, joining me via Zoom. Great to have you on the show. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
So before we get into it now, we got that directive to customers by Ikeja Electric and NERC on the need to link NIN with prepaid meters. I'd like to get your take on this new development and why it's necessary.
Absolutely. I think, one of the issues that we have in the sector is the inability to be able to identify or know who the owners of these metering assets are, right? Remember that a meter, I always say, one thing I'm known for saying in the sector is that a meter is the POS of the sector, right? And in some cases, because it's important that these providers, that the customers, most times we're unable to tell who the owner of the meter is, and most times also because the meters are also financed, right? And the customer is unable to pay for it all up front. We have to be able to tie the owner of these metering assets to the customer so that, again, we are able to always have the information of the customer on hand. Whether the customer is, one of the things that is prevalent in the sector is energy theft, right? If we are able to have the NIN of the users of these metering equipment, we're able to hold people accountable. What we have is a major issue of accountability in the sector at the moment. And so the use of NIN is well overdue.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, it's a data collection exercise. Not much benefit to the customers, I guess.
So meters are beneficial to both parties, right? Remember that what we had prevalent in Nigeria was a major issue with what is it called? Estimated billing, right? So before privatization or pre-privatization, one of the things that was most prevalent, right, was estimated billing. So what the meter is to the end user is actually a device of comfort. It enables you or you and I as an end user to be able to pay for what we consume, as opposed to what was an estimated, what most people kick back against, and therefore we were unable to collect, revenue for the sector that way. So there are benefits absolutely to the end user, right? The end user today can see, minute by minute. If you look at the devices that we manufacture in Nigeria, which these smart electricity meters, the end user can today see minute by minute what he or she is consuming, or over a period of a month what he or she has consumed. So there are absolute benefits in terms of the smart electricity meters, but also on the side of the NIN, how it benefits the end user as well is that someone cannot, right? So say, for example, you've traveled. My host, you've traveled and you're out of town for like maybe the next 1 month on assignment on location somewhere, right? And your meter is running and there's a bill that they're waiting you. That doesn't help you much because, again, once it's tied to your NIN, you're able to tell, right, again, who's using it and how it's being used.
All right, so 10 years after, about 10 years after privatization now, about 90 million Nigerians still live without power. What would you say is holding us back from achieving constant power supply?
That's the million-dollar, billion-dollar question today for our country. I tell you what, 10 years ago when we started, or at least I came back to Nigeria, with one very important focus, and that is to see how we can close the energy gap in the country. What I believe is holding us back is a major issue with bankability as well as an investable proposition. Nigeria has a population. We also have what it takes to be able to power everyone. What we've had issues with has been a major issue with. Forgive me, my phone has been interrupted.
Okay, that's fine. But I can hear you now. Okay, yeah, we're having some issues there with Chantel's audible.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, I can hear you now. You can continue.
Excellent. What we've had issues with has been a major issue with, on the one hand, what would be an investable proposition, okay? Do we have the market? We have the market. We're the largest country in all of Africa, right? We have the market. And for what the future holds for Africa as a whole, Nigeria is the largest economy, largest population, and therefore we have to get the power equation correct. This is huge, and we have to get it right. One of the things that I think is very important for us to be able to power everyone is that electricity is not a free commodity, and I think that's our biggest issue today. For the amount of power that we consume, right? For the amount of power that is generated today, as a market or as a country, we are not collecting the equivalent of the amount of energy that is not just generated but distributed. We are not collecting the revenue. enough. So in other words, I think at the moment we're probably at about maybe 50 or 60% revenue collection. No one is going to come and invest in you to generate more power, to distribute more power, right, to all of your country. If I bring 10 billion, 5 billion, and all I can make back, all I can collect, right, is maybe 30, 40, or 50% of that investment, right? No one's going to touch it. Whereas I'm going to put money into fintech, or meaning as an investment or investor community. And maybe you look at our president and, the presidential delegation, we're going, around the country to sell Nigeria as an investment destination, right? In order to do that, investors need to see, right, a return on investment, whether it's 10%, what have you. They need to see, and a return on investment. This is crucial. And in order for us to be able to power everyone and get power to Nigerians, we need to first of all look at this. Secondly, we need to take advantage of what would be the power of the sun, right? We need to have a mixed energy bag. So today, Nigeria has huge gas supplies as a country, right? Huge gas deposits. We can absolutely leverage on our gas deposit, but also absolutely leverage on something that we have, which is major as a nation that most countries, even in Europe and in the US, don't have. It's 24 hours supply of the sun, right? We only have 2 seasons in the country, rainy and dry. But you can count on the power of the sun, so that many of the communities that are off grid, right, we can get them on grid. So we have 2 issues. One is an energy poverty problem, right? And then a huge energy scarcity problem as well. So customers who are not on the grid can be, electrified using what would be renewable energy solutions, where, again, there's a lot of attention globally. Next week is COP28, where countries will come together and talk about, again, how we can get to net zero clean energy. I've just come from China personally, right? The Chinese government have invested and they have innovated billions of dollars, right, for research, for China to lead the world in not just the manufacturing, but also the utilization of solar equipment to be able to, again, generate. For a country like China, right, or the US, where they're already fully electrified and people are already still anticipating what would be their energy needs, and they're trying to talk about cleaner fuels to be able to do that. I think for Nigeria, as we go through our growth curve and our development curve as a country, without a doubt, we need to begin to prepare for that. One of the statistics that I like to quote is that Nigeria is projected to be the 3rd largest country in the world, population-wise, in the next 2 decades, right? That is enough to tell us to prepare, right? We already have energy insecurity issues as is. China is doing it, India is doing it. They're all becoming very self-sufficient in the production and the use of cleaner energy fuels, right? We absolutely, as a nation, need to begin to set up factories to produce all of these, whether it's solar panels, batteries, and not just solar, but the use of hydrogen. It's pretty much the use of, water. We have an abundant, provision of it, so that way we can see full electrification, right? Both as what we call today on-grid and off-grid. I believe this is possible, right? It takes a concerted effort on the part of the government and the part of the people to understand that our investment in electrification is to ensure that all Nigerians are electrified, but that we also are able to pay the bill once that bill, right, is presented to us as the end user and the consumer. And once people see that globally, the world is absolutely interested in Nigeria, right? Investment is a numbers game. And we have the numbers as a country. We have the numbers as a nation. Right. We need that concerted effort, right? Both on the part of the end user and then, of course, on the part of government in terms of government policies to ensure, right, that investors such as Mojek and so many others in the power sector can come in, invest, whether foreign or local, right, to be able to provide these solutions to end users.
Right, yeah, we need to get investors comfortable and know that whatever they bring in, they'll be able to take back their profit, going forward. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your perspective with us, Chantel Abdul, Group Managing Director at Mojek Holdings. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much.
All right, we'll take a breather now. When we come back, we'll look at the NIN and meter linking exercise, see how customers are faring with that. That's our next conversation. Just stay with us. Well, earlier this year, Linkage Electric PLC told its customers to upgrade their prepaid meters with standard transfer specification software. The electricity distribution company had asked consumers in its coverage area to upgrade their STS meter on or before Tuesday, October 31st, 2023. Had said any customer who fails to upgrade his or prepaid meter by linking it with a national identification number would be unable to vend energy units from November 1st. And we're already seeing some customers already complaining about that at this time. Joining us now is Meka Dite Ojoko, Executive Coordinator, nepawahala.ng. Join us via Zoom. Great to have you on the show. Good morning.
Good morning, Ladi. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so how are you seeing this whole NIN linking to prepaid meters at this time? I've had conversations with some people, and they've not been able to, vend energy for about 2 days, because of this issue at this time, and some are also having even longer days. They're not able to vend. Talk to me about this whole process.
All right. I listened to what Ms. Abdul said. It appears to be a data gathering exercise by IE. So far from reports I'm getting, it's just IE that's making this requisition for customers to upload their NIN as a prerequisite to imputing the STS tokens on their meters. Customers are having all kinds of difficulties with this process, all kinds of difficulties. I really do not understand the basis for IE's insistence that customers must upload their NIN to their meters. Okay, especially when we talk about the issue of they are not specific as to whose NIN should be uploaded. You find that tenants in premises are even uploading their own NIN to landlords' meters, which defeats the purpose of data gathering and then energy accountability, right? As Ms. Abdul stated, because if I'm a tenant in a house and I've used my NIN to upgrade the meter, then and I move and I leave debt, right? The debt remains with the meter. So how does that help the disco, right? In terms of accountability. Right, so those are the issues. Right, I understand the policy, but the implementation for me is a problem.
Yeah, because I've had issues, myself. I've tried to also, upgrade my meter, gone through the whole process and all of that. But getting the code to actually be able to vend is an issue, right now. Yes. Looking at the whole process at this time, do you think, there shouldn't be a deadline? People should be able to vend, even if they're trying to, get on with this upgrading process, don't you think?
Well, from my experience, I'm in Port Harcourt, right? From my experience with my own disco, once your meter has been migrated, or has been provisioned for the upgrade, you cannot vend. But their procedure is less stressful. You don't have to link your unique identifier. You don't have to put your NIN on anything. You just go to their website. You impute your meter details, and you get the KCC tokens, and then you can do your business, right? So I've done that. I've upgraded the one for my office. The one for my house is still outstanding because my meter has not yet been provisioned for upgrade. So, but the challenge that people are having now is with this NIN issue, right? Because if the NIMC platform is not working properly in order for verification to take place, then how do you navigate past the NIMC.gov website or their own database before getting to IE database? So that's the challenge that people are having with government infrastructure not performing as robustly as the private sector IT infrastructure. That's the difficulty. Now, if IE would just step down this issue of the NIN and just do what other discos are doing, just provision the meters and leave the issue of gathering the data for now, right? Because even the data that they are gathering is not reliable. If a tenant is putting up his meter number in his landlord's meter and he eventually moves, then how does that help them in their quest for gathering reliable data? Okay, so for me, the deadline should be extended, and then they should drop this issue of linking meters with NIN right? And then look for some more reliable means of gathering the data of the owners of these assets, as Mr. Abdul said. But what they're looking for now is not the users of the assets. What they're looking to get now is the owners of the assets. And when tenants are uploading their NI and linking their NIN with their meters, then that defeats the purpose of getting data of the owners of the assets, in my view.
Right, I have reached out to Ikeja Electric to come and, break down, this whole process for us on the show. I'm still waiting to hear from them. Hopefully we get more clarity, going forward, because definitely this is impacting businesses and households, at this time in Lagos, not being able to vend, because at the end of the day, I did see on social media yesterday some frozen foods seller, complaining about, spoilage of all her items worth about 300,000 naira or so, and it's because she's not able to vend, at this time.
Yes, but it's a major issue. It's a major issue. I maintain several WhatsApp groups and other platforms where the only complaints that we are getting day after day is this issue of NIN linkage. Every single complaint is NIN linkage. So what we are doing is that people who have been able to navigate the process are advising others on how they can scale through it so that they can sort themselves out. But the deadline is fast approaching. It's next week. Okay, IE should extend the deadline, because even the deadline for the TID rollover is in November 2024. There is still time. So they shouldn't be putting people through this kind of stress and causing them this kind of economic losses. Somebody has lost goods of 300,000 naira for no reason, right? When the problem is basically that of the modalities, right? The flow for the upgrade. If only they can drop this issue of the NIN linkage, then the rest works practically seamlessly.
All right, we'll definitely keep watching out. Hopefully we'll get more clarity, when it comes to this NIN linkage, because this cannot prolong for long, because consumers right now are stretched on every side, and I'm sure customers are quite sensitive now. We don't want them to snap, going forward with any hardship trying to vend. Thank you so much for coming on, Barrister Emeka Ojoko, Executive Coordinator, NEPA-Wahala.ng. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure.
All right, let's get a quick check on the markets now. And we have a birthday girl coming on to give us the details. It's somebody's birthday today. Happy birthday,
Laddie,
Will.
Thank you, Laddie. Laddie, I was just listening to the conversation, especially with the NIN and this linkage with the Mojek and Ikeja Disco.
Yeah, with the metering.
The metering. I feel that, do we really have the infrastructure to accommodate this NIN linkage thing? Because we always come up with these ideas, but when we look at the infrastructure in the country, it's not enough or adequate to even take on what they're requesting. So it's, just adding more pain to the populace. We
don't need more pain.
We don't need more pain.
I don't have a problem with doing an upgrade, but I don't like the deadlines. The deadlines are it's never enough.
It's never enough. Yeah. Why don't you just give like a very prolonged period where people have time to walk in and actually get it done. Right. Don't just give us a month, 2 weeks, and then you want people to run helter-skelter. It's going to put too much pressure.
You now have to go to the NEPA office, to the Ikeja Electric office. Forgive me, I still keep saying NEPA.
NEPA. We grew up with that. I understand. So we're seeing bearish sentiments, bringing positive news, because the market is going to close in the green today. Bearish sentiments returned to the equities market yesterday following profit-taking activities in MTN Nigeria. It dropped about 0.6%. And FBN Holdings shaved off 4% of its share price. Investors are really selling off or taking profit. Now, the NGX ASI dropped yesterday by 0.09%. We're still at 71,000, thankfully. Hope we hold on to that and not drop to 70. We're seeing 39 trillion for the market cap. We lost about 35 billion naira yesterday. Let's look at the turnover chart. We see volume dropped 12.81% to 428.44 million units, valued at 7.37 billion naira, which was a 128% uptick yesterday. 667 deals transacted yesterday. Now let's look at the sectoral performance. We've seen the banking counter up yesterday, 0.19%. It's really good because we've seen that recovery for banking sectors and more interest from, buyers and investors and traders alike. Consumer was down yesterday, industrial goods still down, insurance still performing well from, positive start off for the week. Oil and gas still unchanged. Not a lot going on there, even though O&O had some movement yesterday in terms of price action, but that did little or nothing to change the price of the sector for yesterday. Now, Veritas Capital was to top the trade yesterday, 62.08 million units traded. Unity Bank followed, and GT Kobo. We're going to be bringing in Mukhtar Mohammed, is the CEO. Finance with Mukhtar is going to give us the details as to what happened yesterday. Good morning, Mukhtar. It's good to have you on the program.
Good morning, Will, and a happy birthday too from here.
Thank you so much. Mukhtar, the market is trading neither here nor there. What next? Because we're just wondering, what should investors be doing right now?
Well, like I always say, if we end the market today, investors will still be smiling because, like you said, the 71,000 mark, and not just the 71,000 mark, most equities have gained over 38% averagely. But again, what you are saying is what normally happens in the stock exchange at this period of the year, where you see investors change position towards year-end activities, especially for tier one banks. So it's not surprising what you are saying. You see this play out till the end of January. The market will be going up and down, and the activity sides, again, you see a lot of activities, especially movement in the banking sector. So definitely, I'm not too surprised. And like you said in your report, you could see those movements. And when you see a stock like GTCO increasing in terms of value and also in volume, and then you know that investors are really doing what we call portfolio reshuffling. That equity increase was one of the top gainers yesterday, or one of the gainers yesterday, and yet again in terms of volume, it was one of most traded in volume too. So no cause for alarm, cause to reshuffle your position, look at your portfolio, begin to think of year-end via the third quarter results. That's what most investors are doing now.
Okay, so should we expect a Santa rally, and what stocks should investors be looking at, to close the year? Well, I know it's not year end yet, but Santa rally is very close, and we do want to see some hope. So what should we be looking out for? Should we expect that?
Well, when it comes to Nigeria, I don't think we really enjoy Santa rally when it comes to December. Sometimes this December period is always a period whereby most investors try to sell off towards festivity period. Some of them also try to sell off towards school fees in January. So the Santa rally is not really there, but sometimes you see those rallies, but those rally also comes in terms of portfolio investors reshuffling their portfolio, especially the foreign investors. They are not there. So we'll see Nigerian institutional investors reshuffling their portfolio. And so when it comes to Santa rally, I think the brewery sector is always ones that lead in terms of Santa rally, and also the banking sector, and also leads in that sector also, because that means you are driving towards year end, especially the tier one bank. Then also the conglomerate in terms of companies like consumer goods sector, because of the festivity period, also tend to enjoy little rally. But again, because of the problem of inflation and low earning capability of Nigeria, I don't think it's a sector a lot of investors want to play in now. So if you ask me two sectors to look at towards the Santa rally, you need to look at the banking sector, you look at the brewery sector, and maybe the petroleum sector. If by chance Dangote refinery comes on stream, as we expect in December, then there will be a lot of activities in that space.
We're definitely keeping an eye out for Dangote refineries and see what the oil and gas sector will bring for the markets and investors. I know a lot of people are itching to get their hands on some stocks that will, give them good returns for the Christmas and New Year. Thank you so much, Mukhtar Mohammed, CEO, Finance with Mukhtar, for sharing your perspective on business morning.
Thank you, Will. Coming for the birthday cake very soon too.
Thank you. So we're seeing Naira depreciating yesterday. We're still seeing that downtrend for the Naira rally. Right. So we're hoping that the FX, doesn't take us to Christmas and we can't really buy what we need to buy.
I know, right? We're all looking forward to that, Santa rally and all the festivities that come with Christmas. Hopefully, it's going to be a white Christmas.
White Christmas, Larry.
Hopefully.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Will, birthday girl. See how the market actually closes today. Let's get a check on other markets now. See Bitcoin started a downside correction after that big news yesterday, but we're seeing some green on the screen this morning. In spite of all the drama yesterday, Solana also looking really good. Uniswap, decentralized exchange, also doing good today, earlier this morning. Let's look at BNB there now. It's still red. Yeah, with the whole news about the CEO of Binance stepping down, having to pay about $4.something billion. So we're seeing that impacting that cryptocurrency right there. Let's look at the sentiment in the market now. Let's see, it's still a greedy market at 66 points. Let's bring in Michael Linkage now, financial market analyst. Hello, Michael. Good morning.
Good morning, Laddie. Thanks for having me on.
Great to have you, Michael. So we're seeing Binance users there that withdrawn about over $1 billion from the exchange in 24 hours. How is this going to impact the operations of the exchange?
Well, the order from the DOJ is that Binance is going to pay $4.2 billion. A portion of it is going to be towards sanctions, and the other portion is going to be towards paying fines for the rules that they quote unquote broke. The withdrawals that you're seeing are people being scared and maybe thinking there's going to be a bank run on Binance, but that isn't the case. The reason for the DOJ action is to prevent exactly that. So the DOJ entered a deal with them basically because they don't want Binance to ultimately fail because of the amount of volume that it carries. Is quite a important global institution in the grand scheme of things. And so that's what you're seeing there, and DOJ recognizing that.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so what are you seeing? We're seeing green on the screen this morning. Has the market, shrugged off the whole Binance issue?
Not quite, because at the end of the day, what this represents is FinCEN, the DOJ, they're going to have front row access to Binance, and they're going to be able to see everything Binance does for the next 3 years until the probation is up. And so you're going to see there's some illicit activity in crypto, and so what you're going to see is a lot of it move off Binance. Because of the insight the U.S. government's going to have on the exchange, you're not going to see a lot of people want to use it for illicit activity. So some people say Binance might end up like BitMEX. Before the last bull market, was another exchange. The founder got hit with fines, and the company got hit with also another suit as well. So people are saying, at the end of the day, you might see Binance be relegated to a shadow of itself because users flee the platform. They don't feel like they can trust it. So it might end up like that. However, I do think this is healthy for the market.
Right.
You've seen people constantly say things that Bitcoin's price is manipulated. So Binance, at the end of the day, represents one of the largest volumes for cryptocurrencies where it's traded.
Okay.
So once you see the government monitoring and looking at Binance on a daily basis, I don't see why the ETF is going to be held up any longer. Because the quote-unquote market manipulation, the SEC has a front row insight into Binance now. So there's absolutely no reason to claim the market's manipulated when you're inside of the market leader.
All right, no problem. We'll keep tracking. It's still a developing story at this point. I'm still expecting more stories coming out of this Binance issue. Thank you so much, Michael Linkage, for your perspective. Thank you. All right, so that's how the markets are looking today. That's a wrap on the program. Don't forget to join us at 1:30 on Business Incorporated for more updates and developments in the world of business. Also, visit www.channelcv.com for more updates. Thank you for watching. I'm Laddie Williams. Have a profitable day.